that. I'll be able to tell you what happens. There you go. My goodness. That's the one. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Professor Lloyd Waller, the Executive Director, Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center. Come on, give me the music. You wanted it. There you go. Waller. Come on. Now, everybody stand for a moment. Stand for a moment. We're going to do this together. Hey, 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 hey. Come on, Professor. Let's show them a move. Come here. Slowly. Waller. Dance like him. Come on. Just do it. Swim. Swim. Shake. Hey. Come on. A round of applause to Paul Weldon and Carissa.
Mr. Masters of Ceremony, I too was a little concerned about the dancers pulling the persons in the front seat on the stage, especially the last set of dancers, because I was busy trying to contemplate how on earth they would lift me up to the top, because I'm not particularly a small guy. Ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. I have the privilege and the opportunity to welcome you here today at the 4th Global Tourism Resilience Conference. And I'm taking this opportunity to outline what I would say would be the 7 moments that got us here. And I'll start with the first one. As a matter of fact, this is what many persons would want to call an origin story. So I'll start with the first one. So first of all, a question. Who in here can tell me what does Apple, GitHub, Wordy Park, and Vita Coca, which is the coconut, you know, the very popular coconut drink, these are 4 Fortune 500 companies. Who in here can tell me what they have in common with the GTRCMC? If you can tell me, I can promise you get a free flight to Jamaica, stay for a week, and a free flight back to Kenya. Who can tell me? Please. Sorry, the dancing was a little bit hectic. Can anyone just put up your hand, just make a guess? They were all started in a bar. GTRCMC was actually started in a bar, and I don't even think Minister Bartlett remembers this situation. I was at a bar, minding my own business, when my principal came to me and said to me that the Minister of Tourism, who was also at the bar, minding his own business, is interested in an advisor. And I quickly took on the opportunity. The second moment was a conference that was held in 2017 on jobs, and the outcome of the conference was what was called the Montego Bay Declaration. Now, out of the declaration was a recommendation for a specific center or institution or space that can facilitate conversations about resilience and tourism resilience. You see, resilience was an emerging conversation on the global scene. However, nobody was talking about it within the context of tourism, and so there was a kind of gap that needed to be filled. The third moment was actually the formation of the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center, which was established 6 months after the call for a center. And you can go on the website, it will outline everything that is on the website. The fourth moment was the first conference 4 years ago. Phenomenal. You know, we had persons from all over the world, but unfortunately out of the conference we realized something that was very sad. Not many persons understood what tourism resilience was. Many persons could understand how to do tourism resilience. It was a foreign concept at the time. So Minister Bartlett and myself decided to take on what can only be referred to as a pilgrimage to learn more about tourism resilience and do research about tourism resilience. And that has been a whirlwind, Minister, to be quite frank. We've traveled all over the world, meeting a number of world leaders, and we were able to make some very substantive, sorry, I'm so sorry, I danced on the stage and did some calorie work, but anyway. And you know, it was a real honor to walk with Minister and learn about it. The next moment essentially came with the expansion of the centers. We realized that we were Jamaica, we needed to have a global conversation about the GTRCMC, so we started with the establishment of the centers. The first center was here. The most successful center is here. I'd like to just please applaud, and I'm going to kindly ask Esther. Where is Esther? Esther, please come here. Dr. Karaoke. I pronounced the name properly, didn't I? Please come here. Esther, don't let this statue fool you. Esther has been a rock here for the GTRCMC. She has transformed it to heights that we never thought was possible, to be quite frank. And the humility, the desire to learn and to network was built into Esther. And Dr. Kuguri Karaoke has, well, big feet to follow, but it has already started. And it's evidenced by where we are right here now. It has already started with this particular event. So thank you, and thank you very much, colleagues. The seventh moment was this day, the establishment of the Global Tourism Resilience Day. I never knew I would ever participate in a project that would allow for me to say that Global Tourism Resilience Day was something that I participated in. It was led by Minister Bartlett with the support of the Prime Minister, the team from the Ministry of Tourism. I'm going to kindly ask Mr. Dobson, Fiona, who worked on it, please stand. Christina, who had to do the back end, please stand. And it was also supported by the team, by the GTRCMC. Damien, Jackie, please stand. And it was supervised with someone who I have had the pleasure to work with, and it has been a whirlwind. Minister Bartlett, please stand. I don't want to take the opportunity to talk about Minister because it would take all evening. Passion is the word that I could use to describe him. And I've learned a lot in terms of passion in this regard. So that has been the journey, and today, Minister, we are here. We are here in Kenya after 4 years. I mean, I could never imagine that we're here today, but it just goes to show hard work, dedication, passion, ingenuity, imagination, innovation, all contributed to where we are right now. And speaking of innovation, going forward, we are in the process of developing several applications to help the tourism space with GenAI. We're experimenting with GenAI. That will be the next level of GTRCMC. We've already engaged a number of engineers to develop apps to support the sector. So I'm particularly excited about that. But thank you very much, everyone, for having me. Minister, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Today is going to be a wonderful day. Thank you for getting me here today. Thank you very much, everyone.
One more time. Let's appreciate Prof one more time. Beautiful one. Asante Sana. Thank you so much. And I think, Prof, that dance has done you good, right? Excellent, excellent. Well, it wasn't me, but anyway, when you're in Jamaica, a dance is a must, right? Excellent. Asante Sanam. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to segue to our other remarks, and in the house as well, we have the one and only, our PS, who is in the house and is going to be coming, and as well also acknowledge some of his colleagues who are right here, quite a number of them. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Honorable John Ololtuo, the Principal Secretary, State Department for Tourism, Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. The Cabinet Secretary for Tourism and Wildlife in the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Rebecca Miano, Honorable Ministers from the following countries. Let me begin with the Honorable Minister for Jamaica, Honorable Edmund Bartlett, the Honorable Minister of South Sudan, Honorable Denai Jok Chago, the Honorable Minister, Democratic Republic of Congo, Honorable Kwete Lobo, the Secretary of State, the Minister of Tourism from Angola, Honorable Augusto Laurindo, my brother, Professor Wala, who has played a critical role in this process, honorable international delegates from various countries across the region. We have delegates from Jamaica, and I think when I mention the country, let's just, the Kenyan way. We shout with joy in the Kenyan way. So let me begin with Jamaica. Jamaica. Saudi Arabia. Zambia, Ghana, United Arab Emirates, Rwanda, Somalia, Angola, Uganda, Kenya. Dr. Esther, you need to tell me whether there is any country I have not mentioned. I am very sure. And in case there is any country I have not mentioned, let us just give a round of applause for any other country, if there is any, that I have not mentioned. My PS colleagues who are present here today, we have Dr. Boniface Makoha, who is the PS Economic Planning, and we have Professor Shaukat Abdul Rasak, who is the PS Science, Research and Innovation. Our Vice Chancellor, Kenyatta University, Professor John Okumu, the Kenya Tourism Federation members who are present here. There are very many, I cannot mention you by name. All our CEOs, chairpersons, members of boards, the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife officials in its entirety, the County Commissioner Nairobi North, Bwana Simon Osumba, who is just with us here, together with the security team who are represented here. All distinguished delegates, both international and local, and all protocols observed. Good morning. How are you? Thank you very much. Before I make one or two remarks, and thereafter invite the Honorable Minister from Jamaica, I would like to give my two colleagues just to come and say their names and a word. I will start with Dr. Makoha, just to come forward and say something, and then followed by Professor Shaukat. Then from there, I'll make one or two remarks as we move on with the program. Welcome, Bwana PS.
The CS, my colleague PSS, I want to ride on the protocol already observed and established Allow me to start off by quickly appreciating all of you and just letting you know that I'm the PS for economic planning. And Madam CS, allow me also to appreciate one very special, important person before I make a few remarks, maybe 2 or 3 points. I have in the house my teacher who made me into what I am today, Professor Okumu. Please, let's appreciate Professor Okumu. He trained me at Kenyatta University in the physics department. He also gave me a departmental scholarship for the 2 years I was there. So I would be doing myself injustice if I don't mention him. So quickly, economic planning. I know we are looking at the resilience, but I want to say that economic planning serves as the strategic framework for building a resilient economy by shifting from reactive disaster response to proactive risk-informed development. CS, I want to appreciate that tourism sector from the economic planning point of view plays a very significant role in our economy by creating a demand for services that enhance comfort, convenience, and overall visitor experience. I also want to mention that the inbound tourism, according to the KNBS statistics that we have, contributes to around 1.6% of our GDP. These are attributed to hotels and restaurants. However, as a department in collaboration with my colleague PS Tourism, as it is international best practices, we want to establish a tourism satellite account. This will help to measure the true value of tourism contribution to GDP. But quickly, what we have is that the projection we're projecting is that tourism will contribute around 1.2 trillion to GDP, around 7% if we are able to do that. And what we have noted as a department is that tourism has contributed to employment. Around 1.7 jobs have been created. When you look at the foreign exchange, it is the leading source of foreign currency, essential for economic stability. It is also tourism has stimulated infrastructure. We have roads, we have airports, and medical facilities, courtesy of a lot of tourism activity. Finally, tourism from where we stand also contributes to revenue from parks, especially park fees and eco-tourism support. With these remarks, just highlighting the importance of tourism to our economy from the economic point of view, allow me to welcome the visitors from all the countries that I've mentioned. Feel at home and ensure that you enjoy the hospitality of Kenya without missing nyama choma. Asante sana, Bwana PS, for the opportunity.
A round of applause for Daktari again. Professor, the podium is yours also to say hi. Welcome.
Thank you very much. PS, let me take the opportunity to recognize the presence of our CS, Her Excellency Rebecca Miano, the ministers from various countries who are present here, my colleagues, the principal secretaries, the leaders in this industry. I would like to stand also on the established protocols. I'll be very brief. I look at the matters of science, research, and innovation, in this country. And I think this theme is very important. When we look at the matters of resilience, it is not an issue of being reactive. We have to ensure that we are very proactive. In addition to what my colleague, PS Planning, has alluded to earlier, in terms of how we have contributed to economic, the GDP, infrastructure, and so on and so forth, we have to ensure that we can be able to have evidence-based planning. And I'm glad that universities in Kenya, research institutions, are in that trajectory to ensure that we can have a sort of a knowledge-based economy that will also be able to contribute into this space. The other thing that I want to share and encourage us to take along with us is the digital innovation. We are in the world of artificial intelligence, the big data, and the digital platform as well. So really we want to ensure that we can fully embrace, build synergies, collaboration, and break the silos. The other two more important things that I want to share with you is the issue of the climate resilience and sustainability. We have to ensure that we are having mitigation and adaptation of climate change. And this is all in the heart of tourism and resilience in that case. And of course, in so doing, we need to continue building capacity and capability, training and bringing the academia, the government, the research institutions, and also the private sector. Last but not least, resilient is inclusive. So we have to ensure we carry along women, the youth, and of course the local communities. And my last information, Minister CS, that I want to share is we are in the process of setting up innovation and incubation hubs in different parts of this country so that we can take full advantage of the diversity that we have and enhance this tourism sector and making sure that we have the resilience that we are looking for. Asanteni sana, and I wish you all a very fruitful deliberations, and for our visitors, welcome to Kenya and sample the best that we have. Asante sana.
A round of applause for Professor. As I indicated earlier, I will take the shortest time possible, but let me also recognize three key people, and I will, as I mentioned, they just stand because they play a very critical role. Madam Lydia Legami. This madam here is the Combinant Tourist Police Unit. All our tourists really enjoy the security and our coordination. Thank you so much, madam, for the good work that you are doing. The Deputy GSO Commandant, Mr. Kamau, where are you? Thank you very much for the good work that you are doing. And we also have the Deputy Police Commandant, Nairobi, Mr. Arero. Where are you? So, thank you very much. As I indicated, mine is just to do some welcome remarks. My Honorable Minister will be able to deliver all the key areas that we wanted to look at. So first and foremost, let me also take this opportunity to welcome all our delegates to Kenya. And I'm sure since yesterday when you arrived, when we had the opening dinner, and a few other areas that you may have visited, I'm sure you are already enjoying the warmth and hospitality of the Kenyan people. So let me welcome you so much. Feel at home, feel good, even as we discuss about resilience. Secondly, this important fourth Global Tourism Resilience Conference Day and Expo has come at the right time. And I think, Honorable Minister from Jamaica, I'm personally very happy with the process that began and has continued up to where it is today. And Kenyatta University has played a critical role, as you have mentioned. And I'm sure, therefore, as we delve into the discussions, which begin today after the official opening, and as we continue tomorrow and the day after tomorrow before the closing, we will have discussed more on tourism resilience. I therefore want to invite every participant to be able to contribute their best as we discuss this important theme that is very, very relevant, not just in this country, but across the region. So I don't want to say more than that. I just want to say we are indeed very happy, very honored to have all of you. And we will move together as one. I'm sure We will transform the world into a world that is very resilient in everything that we do. With those very many remarks, you know, I'm a teacher by profession, so that's why I said I will summarize, but I found myself adding more. So with those very remarks, where is this master of ceremony? Yeah, there should be some nice song. I don't know how the song looks like, because I'm inviting a very, very person here. Can I hear the song a bit as I invite the Honorable Minister of the
See, my feet are not as nimble as the professor. Right? And so I was really looking for another song. No doubt it will come at the end. And then you'll see how nimble my feet are. What a wonderful moment it is for us, and particularly for us coming from the Caribbean. And I want to begin my opening remarks by saying how particularly proud we are as the diaspora to return home and to be able to experience what is for us a reverse diaspora. Because we in the Caribbean have been the product of Africa, and we have gained much from being in the Caribbean, but it is time now for us to give back to Africa, and I feel that sense. And a wonderful occasion it is for us too, in terms of the warm hospitality and the spirit of fraternity and familial relation that we feel here in Kenya in particular, and certainly in Africa overall. Jamaica has a particular affinity to Kenya, as is known. And we feel a sense of oneness, not just from our kindred spirit and our phenotype, but certainly from political arrangements too, as it was Jamaica's partnership with the great hero, Jomo Kenyatta, that enabled the liberation process that decolonized this wonderful land from the British. Dudley Thompson, a Jamaican attorney, was in fact Jomo Kenyatta's attorney and carried him through the difficult period. And that spirit of oneness and bond has maintained itself throughout the years. And it was to our joy that then President Kenyatta visited Jamaica recently. And it is out of that engagement too that today's event, in fact, has materialized. So I want to begin by greeting my sister, Minister, in your context, Secretary of Cabinet, in our context, Minister, the Honorable Rebecca Miano, who has become the symbol of resilience and become also the crucible through which this critical element of tourism is being transmitted in the eastern side of Africa in particular, and the Indian Ocean area in general. My distinguished minister colleagues who are here with us from the countries within the African continent, our Principal Secretary, the Honorable John Olotua, our Acting Vice Chancellor of the University, and our distinguished presenters and speakers who have come from all over the world to share in today's engagement and in fact to celebrate with us on February 17th, the 4th renewal of Global Tourism Resilience Day. So it is a profound honor for me to join you here in Nairobi, in the heart of the magnificent Republic of Kenya, as we commemorate the Global Tourism Resilience Day 2026. We extend our deepest appreciation to the government and people of Kenya for their warm hospitality and for hosting us in a nation whose tourism product is both iconic and inspirational. From the sweeping savannas of the Masai Mara and the breathtaking wildlife that defines Kenya's world-renowned safari experience, to the pristine beaches of the Indian Ocean coastlines, the vibrant cultural heritage of its communities, and the dynamism of Nairobi as a leading conference and innovation hub in Africa, Kenya exemplifies the power of tourism to drive economic transformation, community empowerment, and sustainable development. I thank the Cabinet Secretary for her leadership and for the example she's setting as an example of modern tourism governance that is strategic, evidence-driven, and rooted in partnership. I also salute Kenyatta University for anchoring knowledge at the center of resilience, because resilience without research becomes guesswork, and guesswork is expensive in a crisis. It is therefore fitting that we gather in this remarkable destination to advance our shared commitment to building a more resilient, inclusive, and sustainable global tourism architecture. We gather here today in a time of crisis, a time when disruption is no longer occasional, but constant, when risk is no longer distant, but daily. We gather at a moment shaped by multiple overlapping crises. One, a climate crisis, bringing stronger storm floods, droughts, wildfires, rising heat that strains infrastructure and shortens recovery cycles. Two, a health security crisis where new outbreaks and public health shocks can still halt mobility and disrupt confidence. Three, a geopolitical crisis where conflict and tension can redirect travel flows overnight, in fact, and raise costs across tourism value chain. And fourth, an economic crisis marked by inflation, high debt, rising energy costs, and supply chain volatility that pressures businesses and households alike. Fifth, a security crisis where instability and safety concerns can weaken visitor confidence and disrupt communities. And sixth, an accelerated digital crisis where cyber threats can shut down systems, expose data, interrupt payments and travel operations, and where misinformation and disinformation can damage a destination's reputation in hours, undermining trust with a single false narrative. And yet, this is precisely why we're here. We're here because crisis must not be our destiny. We are here because tourism must not merely survive disruptions. Tourism must redesign and withstand it. We are here to transform tourism from vulnerable to resilient, from reactive to ready, from recovery to renewal. And we meet here under a theme that declares our intention with clarity, from crisis to transformation. Tourism is not just an industry, ladies and gentlemen. Tourism is a lifeline. Tourism is jobs, direct and indirect. Tourism is enterprise, small businesses, community tours, transportation, food, culture, and craft. Tourism is foreign exchange that strengthens public services, education, healthcare, infrastructure, and community development. But tourism is also uniquely exposed because tourism depends on confidence. When confidence falls, arrivals fall. When arrivals fall, jobs fall. When jobs fall, families feel it immediately. And that is why the world needs a Tourism Resilience Day. We need a day that keeps relevance and keeps resilience at the agenda, the heart of it all, even when new cycles move on. A day that forces us to plan before we panic. A day that insists that preparedness is not a luxury, it is a responsibility. Tourism Resilience Day exists because resilience is not seasonal. Resilience is not optional. Resilience is not a paragraph in a policy paper. Resilience is a discipline, lived, practiced, tested, and renewed. So, this day did not appear by accident. It was built step by step, crisis by crisis, lesson by lesson. It began with a recognition that tourism needed more than promotion. It needed protection. More than recovery plans, it needed resilience and architecture. More than hope, it needed systems. We listened to destinations that were battered by storms, and Jamaica just had that experience less than 4 months ago. We listened to communities whose income disappeared when arrivals closed. We listened to operators who were brilliant at service, but vulnerable to shocks they did not cause and could not control. And we made a decision. We will not accept crisis as a destiny. We began building a global platform, one that could convene nations, translate experiences into evidence, and turn resilience into the new standard for tourism governance and practice. And we didn't do it alone. The Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center has become a collective global think tank, a living network of centers, universities, experts, private sector partners, multilateral allies, and governments working together to shape a new global tourism reality, one where resilience is not an afterthought, but a foundation. From that journey came a milestone, Tourism Resilience Day. And I'm so proud to have led that path myself at the UN at its annual special session in February of 2023, when 94 countries acceded to the resolution that I moved and voted while I spoke in favor of the day. So, this day matters because it creates a global rhythm, a drumbeat that calls tourism to readiness. On this day, governments align policy and preparedness. The private sector strengthens continuity and crisis response. Communities deepen safety nets and local linkages. Universities drive research, training, and innovation. Young people see tourism not only as employment, but as a future, skilled, modern, and resilient. This day is not about ceremony. It is about capability. It is about standards. It is about systems. And it also strengthens South-to-South cooperation, because the Global South cannot afford to confront global risk in isolation. Africa and the Caribbean, Latin America and Asia, the Pacific and the Indian Ocean. Our regions are exposed to climate shocks, economic volatility, external market shifts, and digital vulnerabilities. But we also share strengths, ingenuity under pressure, strong communities, and a history of rebuilding. Tourism Resilience Day becomes a bridge where we exchange tools, share strategies, build training pipelines, and spread solutions faster than threats can spread. The impact of tourism resilience and the emerging threats that we must face. What does resilience really produce when it is real? Resilience produces continuity, so businesses do not collapse at the first disruption. Resilience produces faster recovery, so jobs return sooner and communities stabilize quicker. Resilience produces faster recovery. Resilience produces confidence, so travelers keep choosing destination even in uncertain times. But to move from crisis to transformation, we must name the threats that now define the next decade. And what are they? Yes, climate. Yes, health security. Yes, geopolitics. Yes, economic shocks. And yes, public safety. But today we must also confront the digital battlefield, because two threats are now shaping tourism outcomes more than many people realize. Misinformation is not merely noise. And indeed, those two threats are misinformation and disinformation. And I may want to add a third, fake news. So misinformation is not merely noise. It is economic damage. A false story can empty hotels. A distorted clip can trigger cancellations. A fabricated advisory can punish a destination that is safe and ready. Disinformation is worst because it is intentional. It weaponizes fear. It manipulates perception, and it attacks confidence, the very energy that tourism needs to breathe. Cyber threats are not abstract. A ransomware attack can shut down reservation payments, airports, and hotel operations. A data breach can expose visitors and citizens, erode trust, and trigger costly consequences. An outrage can interrupt movements, logistics, and safety. The modern traveler demands convenience, but convenience without cyber safety becomes vulnerability. That is why resilience today means defending not only the destination infrastructure, but the destination's information space. Not only the tourism product, but the tourism reputation. Not only the physical journey, but the digital journey. And this is where the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center and its global partners have transformed tourism. By mainstreaming resilience, by building capacity, by convening knowledge, and by transferring learning across borders, so that one destination's hard lesson becomes another destination's early warning. And as we speak of the future demands that we move from resilience as a reaction to resilience as a design, because transformation is not accidental, it is engineered. And if resilience is to be engineered, two forces must lead it: research and convening. And this is what Kenya is doing, and is doing so well. And that's why we're so proud of you. So looking ahead, we must expand thought leadership. We must have more conferences. We must write more books. We must create more toolkits, and indeed, more training. We must deepen the engagement with destination and governments, so resilience becomes embedded in policy, investment, and operations. We must strengthen cyber readiness and data protection across the value chain. And we must build stronger systems for truth and trust, so misinformation can be confronted quickly with credible information. We will also embrace technology so resilience becomes personal and accessible. Apps and AI-powered tools with guidance, alerts, and training at our fingertips. Trusted updates channels during crises. Decision support tools that help operations know what to do, when to do it, and how to recover. Indeed, the future will not reward those who only have impressive and impulsive responses. The future will reward those who are prepared for storms and prepared for digital attacks and prepared for reputational shocks. In closing, I want to indicate that we at the Global Tourism Resilience Center in Kingston, Jamaica, have gone beyond the mere discussion of these threats that I've indicated. We have sought to codify tools, and tomorrow we will launch a book on the issue of destination reputational disruptions and the imperative of building resilience in that context. We hope that the deliberations over the next 2 days will strengthen our understanding of the 5 critical touch points of resilience: the ability to forecast it, to mitigate against it when it comes, to manage it as it will in fact come, and then to recover quickly, and finally to thrive. God bless you, and thanks.
Wow, wow. What a very inspiring message. A round of applause for Honorable Minister. A round of applause. With those, can we produce the normal sound ile ya kuchia kabisa? Hello? Who knows how to do it? Yeah? Hello. Ah, yeah? 1, 2, 3. Wow. We are almost now reaching at the climax. And the MC, I'm sure you're preparing a song that will be ushering in the chief guest.
Yes.
We have our cabinet secretary, Honorable Rebecca Miano, who is our chief guest today, representing the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Professor Kithure Kindiki. So as we usher her in, the minister who is coming in on behalf of His Excellency the Deputy President, I would like that we be as upstanding as we sing that song. I don't know what the song is. Can it go on?
Yes. Starting
Yes.
right away. One
Yes.
PS. DJ, over to you. Release it now. Let us just have that moment. In the meantime, why don't you stretch and tell the person sitting next to you, what did you get? You know, as I check whether the PS fit. Are you ready, Buana PS, for this thing? Eh?
Yes, I'm ready.
I'm also ready as well. DJ, do you have it? Play it now. Release it now. Because we're more than ready to bring in our chief guest in the house. Come on, DJ, play it now. Do not worry, the DJ had gone on strike. You know why? He was saying he needs to be taken to a destination in Kenya. I know he will go. So don't worry, your request has been made. So if you don't mind, 3, 2, go, DJ. Come on, release it. Give it now. He's counting me down. 3, 2, 1, go. By the way, Buana PS, one more thing, eh? I don't know whether you know how to pronounce words in the Jamaican style. Can I teach you one?
Yes.
I'm going to teach you here. Just watch me, eh? The word is situation, all right? Please pronounce that word for him in the Jamaican way. Situation.
Situation.
Yes. Situation. There's a way that you do that, all right?
Situation.
So just for
Situation.
just for clarity, just for clarity. So the Jamaican dialect is a community.
There you go. For this one appears. Excellent. Come on, DJ, give us that. So everybody just move your feet a bit as the CS is coming up. Please come in, style one. Yes. Excellent. A round of applause to her. For that. Just follow. One step. Everybody.
CBD, your penthouse. CBD.
Come on, I appreciate it. Let's give a round of applause. Thank you so much. And thank you, DJ.
Can have our seats.
Thank you.
Before I say much, I would like to welcome my colleagues to just come up here and say hi from DRC, Kwete. My colleague ministers, just to say bonjour. Bonjour, enchanté.
Je tenais à dire bonjour au ministre ici représenté et bonjour à notre pays frère, le Kenya. La RDC est notre pays.
DRC, our country,
Vous remercier sincèrement
is appreciating for this ceremony
pour assister dans ces assises de conférence de Global Résilience,
for being a member and participant of this Global Resilience Conference,
qui est d'office le catalyseur de développement
which is charged with catalyzing the development
de
of
tous les
tourism
pays africains.
in all the countries in Africa.
Alors voilà le mot le plus essentiel que je tenais à m'adresser à cette assemblée.
And therefore, that's the reason as to why he is here to address this assembly.
Merci.
Thank you so much.
Merci. Honorable Denny Jok, the minister from South Sudan.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here. Excellency, Honorable Rebecca Miano, thanks for the invitation that you have granted to your close friends, South Sudan. The people of South Sudan greet all of you. And I'm sure one of you might have a friend from South Sudan. I'm very delighted personally to be here to participate in this wonderful conference. And personally, I think that human connection starts with tourism. Any business, any investors that you are interacting with here in Kenya once came to Kenya as a tourist. You should know that. And you too, going to another country to invest or to explore, you would once go to that country as a visitor. And in your passport, you would have a tourist visa stamps on it. That means human connections starts with tourism. And so in this case, we should also the tourism sector as the pioneer of our global.
And finally, Honorable Augusto from Angola. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Honorable Minister. It's a pleasure for Angola to be here, to learn with Kenya, to learn with all the participants on this conference, because we understand that tourism is connections, and these connections should be not only with peoples, but with countries. And we, in Africa, we face the same problems, so we should address together these problems. So thank you very much for inviting us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have delegations from very many countries, as you have heard from the protocols that were set. And I want to thank you very much, my brother, the Minister of Tourism from Jamaica, Edmond, who is our tourism encyclopedia in terms of tourism, resilience, and crisis management. And to be honest, he's one of the longest serving tourism ministers I have ever met, having served 14 1 year and 6 months. So you can imagine how much more experience that our minister has. So to all the ministers of tourism and government representatives, leaders from international organizations who have joined us today, the speakers we have for the various forums, private sector Allow me to start by relaying greetings from His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Ruto, who is also the patron of Global Tourism Resilience Center, East Africa, that is headquartered at the University, Kenyatta University. Let me also hasten to thank His Excellency for his steadfast and visionary leadership, which has given us the impetus to rethink the potential of tourism as a special economic enabler, particularly in the global south. To us, he is our tourism ambassador 001. So ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here at a point in time when resilience is no longer optional, but essential. We are reminded that preparedness is the new competitiveness. Whoever is not prepared will never be competitive. Tourism remains one of the world's most consequential economic drivers in Kenya. It is one of the key economic pillars. It supports millions of jobs, especially for women and the youth. It also fosters cultural exchange and global understanding. The tourism sector in Kenya has demonstrated remarkable recovery post-COVID-19 pandemic. We have seen international arrivals grow back even better to the pre-COVID numbers, And we have also seen the earnings have grown. The numbers we saw in 2023, about 2 million. 2024, 2.4 million. The numbers for 2025 will be released soon, but we are upwards of 2.6, edging close to the 3 million figure. And in terms of earning, we are actually now upwards of 500 billion Kenya shillings. Further, the government is continuously implementing strategic interventions to increase international and domestic tourism numbers through promotional campaigns, including digital awareness and conversion marketing campaigns. We have also embraced collaborative campaigns with online travel agents, participation in international trade and exhibitions. And we have had in great detail, which I will not repeat, all the risks and threats that the tourism sector faces and the comprehensive information we have received from the founder of the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center. At the same time, we are strongly forging strategic partnerships with various stakeholders, including county governments, non-tourism sectors, private sectors, researchers, tourists themselves, and everyone in this sector. Additionally, there have been deliberate collaborative campaigns co-implemented with international airlines and charter flights to drive numbers, especially targeting new and emerging source markets. Tourism is one of the most vulnerable sectors, on the other hand, and especially to climate change impacts, extreme weather events, global health emergencies, geopolitical instability, economic shocks, and cybersecurity threats, to name a few. Not too long ago, a few years back, the COVID-19 pandemic became a wake-up call across the globe. In reality, the pandemic was not the last crisis, neither. Neither will it be the last. It is therefore imperative that we make resilience the foundation of tourism development and not an afterthought. We are happy to note that Kenya is the regional headquarters of the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center, Eastern Africa. It was established back in 2019 at Kenyatta University, and it serves about 14 countries. And today, this is a dream come true, that we can be here as Kenya to host this very critical and important conference. In November 2024, the center was awarded the prestigious Resilience Award during the World Travel Market in London. And since you did not clap for them then, we can do it belatedly now. But this accolade was awarded in recognition to the center's exemplary contributions to global tourism resilience. Since inception, the center has spearheaded paid internships from abroad and has benefited over 100 students who have worked and studied in USA and Europe. As a government, we are committed to, one, integrating climate adaptation into tourism planning And 2, investing in disaster risk reduction and early warning systems. Thirdly, the government is keen on promoting sustainable and regenerative tourism. And fourthly, supporting digital transformation of tourism enterprises. Fifthly, Kenya is committed to strengthen partnerships between public and private sectors. And lastly, expanding access to finance for smaller and medium tourism operators. The ideal resilience tourism deserves should cover the widest spectrum of the sector, including communities, enterprises, and entities of national, regional, and global levels. Besides, our communal resolve is to protect our natural assets, reduce carbon footprint, invest in renewable energy, and in that regard, Kenya has made significant strides, considering that over 96% of the energy consumed in Kenya is renewable or green energy. We'll also promote sustainable infrastructure and encourage responsible travel. And all of this should remain unyielding. This is the real conversation about resilience. The government calls upon us, present here today, to embrace technology and be innovative in reshaping resilience in the context of tourism by having dedicated digital platforms for crisis communication. AI-driven, risk forecasting, contactless travel systems, and data-driven destination management initiatives are a must. For us to achieve the above commitments on tourism resilience, as a country, we have to mobilize resources dedicated to resilience. Remember, investing in resilience today is the surest antidote against tomorrow's losses. Therefore, we call for blended financing mechanisms, resilience funds for vulnerable destinations, and insurance innovations for climate and disaster risks. And we really look forward, after all the discussions, to what this conference will recommend in the Nairobi Declaration. In this conversation of tourism resilience, the youth must play a critical role, and they already are. Therefore, we must equip them with digital skills, encourage entrepreneurship, create innovation hubs, and encourage climate leadership and resilience. Also needed are strong regional collaborations, and we know as we diversify the collaborations that we already have, we will give priority, in addition to all the other important regions, to the Middle East and Northern Africa region. And we know that when we do all these collaborations, we do knowledge sharing, early warning networks, research partnerships, and crisis coordination and frameworks, then we shall say we are edging closer to full resilience. This conference and Expo should move swiftly from dialogue to implementation, translate research into policy, convert partnerships into action, and turn commitments into measurable outcomes. As this conference and Expo concludes, we ought to register clear targets and identify practical frameworks and build strong alliances, networks, and partnerships. In conclusion, our ultimate goal should be to contribute meaningfully in creating safety nets against likely shocks as a way of enhancing sustainable global recovery. We should aspire to a tourism sector that is stronger, greener, smarter, and more inclusive. Meanwhile, I applaud the organizers of this event for the work well done as we look forward to edifying engagements that I hope will shape global tourism and grow our economies. To our visitors, welcome to Kenya, karibuni sana, and please find time to immerse in our enchanting wonders and magic. And lastly, we must all remember that resilience, tourism resilience starts with all of us, and we must become resilient individuals. Thank you, and have meaningful engagements. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's appreciate our Cabinet Secretary, Rebecca Miano. Thank you so much once again for that. And tech team, if you don't mind, we would like to move this particular podium because we want to get to a moment of a photo session. And just to allow Waziri to sip some water as we do this. And I hope that we are very much ready for this amazing session. So if you don't mind, Madam CS, yes, you've just done your gallop there, so kindly come because we want to take some quick photos right here. And I want to invite all the ministers representing the different nations to kindly join Madam CS. The ministers, please come. I'll also invite another picture, so we have about 4 of them, so kindly, Madam CS, if you can lead them here, that would be great. Thank you so much for a quick photo with the ministers. Let's start with the ministers, and then I'm going to invite our PS to come with his colleagues for the next picture. So if you don't mind, there you go. I like the arrangement. Yes, these are the ministers. Allow me to allow the photographers to get set. If you don't mind, Madam CS, you could take one step back with the entire team, just one step back so that their lenses can be able to capture you well. Excellent. Like that. That's a good one. Let's look at them. Just look at the center. Look at the center. There you go. 3, 2, 1, go. If you don't mind, may I ask the PSs present to kindly come, led by our host PS. Please come right in. Please allow the PSs to come in right there. Just join the team. Join the team. Join the team. Thank you so much. Somehow join the team. I think photographers, you may need those zoom lenses and wider lenses. Excellent, excellent. Let's take that. Let's take that. Smiling in 3, 2, 1, go. There you go. There you go. Thank you so much. Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. Yes, we're about to call the universities as well. Yes, they're coming in a moment. In a moment. Allow me to invite the Global Tourism team. Professor Wala, the universities. The Vice Chancellor Kiyu, please come up here. Dr. Karaoke, Dr. Esther, please come up. Please come up right here. So we're able to do this. Aha. Just give them a moment to arrive. Give them a moment to arrive, if you don't mind. Yes, excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. Photographers, you can step back a bit so that you're able to all take the nice pictures. Step back a bit, step back a bit. Yes, you have space at the back so that you're able to allow yourselves. We understand they're very important people and we need them. So 3, 2, go. Just look at the center. All the others on the other sides are fake. Just look at the center. It's a joke, don't worry. Excellent, there you go. Are we good at that? Thank you so much. Just before you leave, there's just one more. I understand we have the senior ministry officials. Somehow come at the back of the senior ministry officials, the CEOs and directors present. Please come up right now. The CEOs, the directors, please come up now. I know you. I'm about to call you by name. Please come. We shall somehow manage to do this. And if you don't mind, I think I have some ability. Yes, sir. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, they will not appear. We're going to stand here, and some of us on this other end. Just there, just here. Let's line up here, right here. Excellent, excellent. And Madam CS maybe just right there. Excellent, just right there. The others at the back there, excellent, lovely. And some of these at the end. Guys, you can step back as much as you may want. Don't worry, we will take this very well. I got you, photographers. Excellent, just looking at how, come this other side. I think we have, the stage is still wide, some of us can go up. Especially the gentleman there, you can hop up, you can hop up, the gentleman. Yes, just hop up there. Excellent. Aha. Some of the men here, because we can hop up so they'll be able to be seen. The photography will end here, so you can imagine. Yes, just go up there, just go up if you don't mind. Well done. Thank you. Please allow me to organize this. This is an international picture. There you go. Are we good now? Everybody is there? Excellent. Photographers, do we have it now? Lovely. So let's all look at the center there where the flashes are coming as many in 3, 2, 1, go. Lovely. Asante sana. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. You may take your seats. We had to mark this global particular event happening right away. Thank you so much. Asante sana. Beautiful moment there. Asanteni sana. Lovely. And tech team, if you don't mind, the seats could be coming close now. Because we are getting set. I can see them coming up right here. We're just about to segue to a very powerful, packed panel that is coming up right now, so that at least we are able to enjoy this moment. We're just jumping into that now so that we can flow with it. And I want to really appreciate that we're getting set and ready for this high-level panel. Thank you so much once again for that particular moment. And at this moment, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to briefly, in the moment given to me, to invite our moderator, Dr. Arathana Koala, the CEO Aptamain Partners UK, to kindly come here, a very renowned person in the world of tourism. Thank you so much. Put your hands together for her as she comes. Makofi tafadhali. She is our moderator for this particular session. Excellent. I want to invite as well our PS. Tariq, please come up, because you're a host, so you're going to be having a chance to represent our nation right here. Welcome. Thank you so much. Also joining as well is Honorable Edmund Ballet, the founder and co-chair as well. Please come up here, the Minister of Tourism in Jamaica. Honorable Danny Jock as well, the Minister of Wildlife Conservation in South Sudan. Please come up to the panel. And Your Excellency Augusto as well, Secretary of State of Tourism Angola, please come up here as well. And finally, we have Jackson Hakiza, the Director General, Rwanda Chamber of Tourism. Please come up here, sir. And I want to hand over the microphone now to our moderator.
May I get the podium up on the stage? Yes, please.
Tech team, if you don't mind, we'll need a quick podium very first. Lovely. So very fast, let's have that podium. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, just to remind us that when panel discussions are happening, you also participate. How do you do that? Remember our slido.com, and the passcode is tourism. So please type that. There's a section written Q&A, so if you have any question, we'll be able to ask that question digitally, even as we're getting ready for this. Slido.com, the passcode is tourism. Then you'll be able to interact with this particular panelist right here on stage. Thank you so much. I believe we are set. The stage mic is on, and we'll be able to get started. Moderator, over to you.
Thank you. Honorable Ministers, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, tourism trailblazers, and resilience champions, good morning and welcome to the 4th Global Tourism Madam Minister, will you be joining on stage for the panel? Now we have a full house. For those of you who don't know me or are meeting me for the first time, my name is Aradhna Kovala. I am a global expert, thought leader, change maker, and one of the most influential yet independent voices in travel, tourism, and luxury hospitality. My career has spanned 25 years, 5 continents where I have lived, and 85 odd countries where I have worked, advising governments, businesses, and emerging destinations. I'm passionate about reshaping the future of tourism, and there is nothing I enjoy more than taking the stage for building a more resilient, inclusive, and regenerative industry. Now, on to why we are here today. 4 years, 4 gatherings, 4 times we have stood on the stage to celebrate Global Tourism Resilience Day. And I have stood here every single one of them. I haven't missed one. 4 times, 4 years in a row. But today, it's the first time I'm standing here with a bit of a sense of worry. In previous years, I came energized, hopeful, convinced we were aligning partnerships, sharing data, building the muscle memory of cooperation across borders. It felt like we were moving slowly, imperfectly, but together. This year feels a little bit different. I was at Davos last month, my 7th year. The subtext was unmistakable and the risk briefings were blunt. The age of comfortable multilateralism is fading and we are drifting into minilateralism. From global cooperation to smaller clubs, from we are in this together to you are on your own. In a fractured world, we cannot assume rescue will be coordinated, fast, or even available. You have to be ready more than ever to stand up. Resilience capacity at home with what you have when you need it. Resilience not as a side capacity or a side committee, but a permanent capability. And that's just the political weather. The physical weather has been even more relentless. Just last year, we had 399 natural hazard disasters worldwide. That's more than one every single day. 239 million people need urgent humanitarian assistance, and the world is seeking $33 billion to cover the most critical needs. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not a rainy day fund, that's triage. Shocks are no longer sequential. The next crisis is arriving before the last one finishes its press conference. And tourism, because we are so connected, visible, and confidence-driven, feels the fractures very early, easily, and painfully. So today, being here is not just symbolic, it is strategic. And before we go further, I want to do something unusual at a conference. I want you to look around you, at the person sitting next to you. Take a minute, look at the person sitting next to you. Remember them and thank them. Because these are the people who showed up. They chose to be in a room about resilience. And who is in this room says everything about what we prioritize. Yes, the world feels more competitive. Yes, the safety nets are thinner. Yes, multilateralism is wobbly. But if the era of automatic cooperation is ending, then let intentional cooperation begin. 5 countries, Rwanda, Angola, Kenya, Sudan, Jamaica. 5 countries, 3 continents, 1 shared reality. In the past 2 years, each of them have faced compound shocks measured in hard numbers, not headlines. Different geographies, different flags, the same pattern. East Africa, Madam Minister, and PS endured its worst drought in 40 years, followed by severe flooding. Kenya saw millions affected and widespread displacement. Sudan's conflict is dubbed the world's largest displacement crisis. Rwanda faced destructive floods and landslide in 2023. And Jamaica absorbed a Category 5 hurricane last year, causing damage estimated at 40% of the national GDP. And what is remarkable, What is powerful today is we have ministers from all of these 5 countries on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, resilience is not built by statements, it is built by people who decide this matters. Leaders who are not talking from theory, leaders who are governing through disruption because they've been through it. It is my proud privilege to invite all the ministers on stage. They're here, but I would love to offer a round of quick introduction, if you allow me. And Madam Minister, I will start with you as the host. Honorable Rebecca Miano has led in sectors where shock and volatility are constant. Energy, trade, ASALs, and tourism. Quite the trailblazer, she was the first woman in East Africa to lead an electricity company as MD and CEO of KenGen. She has led several cabinet portfolios, trade, investment, regional development, giving her a rare cross-governmental view of how policy holds up under real-world pressure. She served on the EAC Council of Ministers and as an ex officio member of ELA, strong on regional coordination. As Kenya confronted the floods in 2024 following the drought, she and the ministry championed tourism recovery alongside PS for climate adaptation and infrastructure resilience. Kenya's wildlife economy underpins millions of livelihoods, making environmental protection an economic survival issue, not a luxury. Asante sana for having us, Minister, in Kenya. You're allowed to applaud. Next up, we have someone who has spent decades shaping global tourism. Long before resilience became a buzzword, long before others were still figuring out what actually resilience meant, he saw it as something that protects the very soul of travel, and he was out there rallying, lobbying, and most importantly, doing. He is the longest-serving Minister of Tourism in the world. His party won a record 3rd-term consecutive win last year. The single most important voice on tourism resilience, the founder and co-chair of the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center. He has, as he said himself, published his 4th book, just steered his country through grade 5 hurricane that wiped out 40% of GDP and made a record comeback. He's a statesman, a visionary. He tackles the impossible, makes it look easy. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the force, the legend, the chief architect of resilience, known for pushing tourism beyond growth targets to preparedness, continuity, and recovery. And let's not forget it, he's a Jamaican at heart. That is the most important thing. Honorable Minister Dr. Edmund Bartlett, Minister of Tourism, Jamaica. Our next panelist is Honorable Denny Jock Shagor, the National Minister of Wildlife Conservation and Tourism in South Sudan. Welcome, Minister. South Sudan faces one of the world's most important displacement crises, which is compounded by climate shocks and conflict spillovers. Minister Denny carries the extraordinary task of advancing wildlife conservation and tourism in a nation where stability itself is a resilience strategy. He promotes ecotourism as a long-term alternative to oil dependence, big structural resilience play, and believes in partnership-driven governance, working with organizations on park management and conservation outcomes. Minister, welcome. Next, we have a leader at the forefront of Angola's economic transformation. I was speaking to Minister yesterday, and as Secretary of State for Tourism, His Excellency Augusto is helping position tourism as a central pillar in Angola's diversification agenda, unlocking the country's extraordinary natural assets, from the Atlantic coastlines to the national parks. At a time when Angola is moving decisively beyond oil dependency, his leadership is focused on building a tourism sector that is competitive, investment-ready, and resilient. Honored to have you with us, Minister. Next, from Rwanda, representing the private sector, we have Jackson Hakiza, who leads the Chamber of Tourism in Rwanda at a time when Rwanda is building after the devastating 2023 floods that killed over 130 people and damaged key infrastructure. His work quietly anchors small-medium enterprises' recovery, proving resilience isn't rhetoric, it's enterprise continuity. He has worked extensively on tourism regulation, product and experience development and diversification, and is known for strengthening the public-private partnerships across the value chain. And last but not the least, we have the PS. PS, thank you for taking the stage. You know more about him than I do. The whole world does, Kenya does, but I'm delighted to have him because he brings in a perspective of private sector realism with the public sector policy on the panel and the operational view of what policies actually enable or unblock. Welcome again, PS. Minister Bartlett, if I may start with you. You've been one of the strongest voices in pushing resilience, building coalitions, lobbying, and putting it on the diplomatic agenda. Yet, when shocks and disasters hit, responses still look fragmented, different protocols, different timelines, different priorities. Why is unity so hard, even when the risk is shared? And how can small island SIDS, small island developing states, create a resilience fund, which you have spoken about for years, so we are institutionalizing resilience and not improvising when shocks hit?
Thank you very much, Ardana. This is a tough one, primarily because disruptions are sometimes not foretellable. Disruptions come, and they come in varied forms. Seismic disruptions are weakly predicted. They hit you suddenly and at levels that cannot be defined immediately. Unlike, for example, certain weather disruptions or weather events, as we call them, hurricanes, we can predict that. We can measure also the strength of it as it develops. And therefore, we can plan better and prepare better. Economic disruptions are sometimes as unpredictable as seismic disruptions. And in many cases, economic disruptions are exogenous and are given to us, so to speak, and we have very little control over it. Makes planning a little difficult too. Health disruptions are sometimes difficult to predict. COVID is a good example. It came on us suddenly and enveloped the world, and in fact became the most existential threat that Anthropocene Earth has seen. And that was something that we didn't understand. We relied on science and data, and it too was unreliable. Our whole process was iterative, and we tried and found solutions as we went along. So disruptions essentially have to be given the space for one, to be able to predict. Secondly, as I indicated earlier, to be able to mitigate. Thirdly, to be able to manage. Fourthly, to recover quickly. Most importantly, recover quickly. And fifthly, to thrive afterwards. These 5 touch points are difficult, particularly for small, vulnerable island development states that are weakly resourced and are heavily dependent, in particular, on tourism. And so the call, therefore, for training and education and more knowledge, and for the establishment of institutional framework to enable this. And here comes the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center, and institutions like those, where we can utilize innovation and creativity, and to develop strategies and toolkits that can then be discussed and be measured against real-time activities. And then we can determine, yes, here is how to manage this, here's how to manage that, here's how to manage the other, and then to pass on that information to other countries. So small island states like ours have to rely on collaboration. We have to be able to bring the partners together, private sector, public sector. We have to develop strategies and policies, public policies. And then we have to deal with legislative and regulative arrangements to enable compliance and also to provide sanctions against non-compliance. The strategy is one of cost. And the need, therefore, for a resilience fund is critical. The call from this conference we are going to make, and we hope it will be heard loud and clear. Our minister, in her presentation, referenced it, and we are going to be pursuing that. The need for a resilient fund to be established to enable particularly small, vulnerable, highly tourism dependent and weakly resourced countries to have the capacity to mitigate, manage, and to recover from disruptions.
Thank you, Minister. Beautifully articulated. It needs to be institutionalized, not improvised. And remember the call for action from the 4th Global Tourism Resilience Day celebration. We need the Tourism Resilience Fund. Madam Minister, if I may come to you next. You've led major portfolios beyond tourism. And in the world of power, electricity, resilience isn't a buzzword. The lights have to stay on in the hospitals, in airports, in hotels, everything, it's not a choice. Power systems are run, they need a continuity plan, 24/7. They have to consistently face stress-related contingency tests. And even a short failure can have serious ramifications and impact, and also social consequences. The critical infrastructure mindset that you have in power or other infrastructural sectors who you are very familiar with, it's actually very valuable for tourism too. Because tourism depends on reliability across multiple touch points. Transport, safety, communication, and service, obviously service delivery. How is Kenya integrating climate adaptive policies into the wider wildlife and tourism strategy?
Thank you very much. In the various portfolios that I've served in before, I used to think resilience is more critical for that particular sector. For example, in energy, there are times that the sector was not very resilient, relying largely on water for hydrogeneration, but then we had no control of the rain. And the policies that followed, diversifying the source of energy, stabilized the sector. In other sectors, arid and semi-arid lands, I then realized resilience was very, very critical. The drought followed very quickly by floods and so on. And then trade, where shocks, economic shocks, global and geopolitical issues were affecting the sector. But when I joined the tourism sector, I realized that resilience is actually the lifeline of the tourism sector. It is a very soft, vulnerable sector, and anything could go wrong at any time. We have seen the whole array of the risks that tourism can face, starting with health. Security is a major one. If you look at just infrastructure, reputation is another one. A country will wake up one day and issue a travel advisory. To other people, it may just look like a communication, but to the tourism sector, it is a crisis, and so on and so forth. Actually, the risks occur every second, every minute, every hour, every day. And so it is part of life. Unfortunately, in as much as we know that all these things can happen and will surely happen, preparedness is never obvious. It is never common, it is never accurate. And that's why in my remarks, I said this is historic, this is a dream come true, that on a day like this, these 2 days, Kenya can host one of the most significant conversations about resilience and crisis management. The government of the Republic of Kenya has integrated some of this resilience to climate into policies and into law. And Kenya is very well known as a very strong supporter of climate change, a supporter of conserving the environment and the heritage. And therefore, in terms of policies and the laws, I can say that we are quite robust. In fact, currently, we are at the tail end of enacting or coming up with our National Tourism Strategy 2026, 2032, and we have just launched our wildlife strategy, and the laws are following. So in as much as you will have a robust environment in terms of policies and the laws, the preparedness is what is the real McCoy. It is what matters. And as a country, we must then put a lot of emphasis in some of the facilities like we have specifically for tourism. And we must thank the Kenyatta University that is the host of the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center that serves the wider East African region. And when I visited the center, and I encourage all of you to visit the center, the Kenyatta University, the kind of research, the kind of information and data that is then useful in formulating the policies, that is useful in coming up with preparedness action plan, in coming up with prevention, in coming up on how to deal with all this with speed. I must commend that kind of work. But I also want to say it is continuous, it is work in progress. The way you handle one crisis is not a prescription for everything, which calls for innovation, that calls for agility, and we must really be on top of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. You touch upon some really critical points: reputational resilience. Second, the need for leadership and countries to prioritize resilience, as Kenya has done. And finally, I think your cross-sector experience is fantastic for the world of tourism because we can join so many dots. So thank you, appreciate that. Minister Dene, if I may come to you next. Your tourism value proposition is tied a lot to wildlife, but also ecosystems, including large-scale migrations, which can be undermined by instability, land pressure, insecurity, or weak incentives for communities. How can policy facilitate the protection of wildlife areas during periods of regional instability? Are there specific, policy package best practices that you have which has helped you in revenue sharing, anti-poaching, or other enforcement or land use controls? And what has been really hard to implement politically, even though it might matter the most for resilience?
Well, thank you so much, moderator, and I appreciate the questions. This is a question that has long been asked by so many people. First of all, South Sudan, a lot of people, when they think about South Sudan, they think about conflict, they think about disagreement, they think about displacements. But South Sudan is known for a lot more than that. South Sudan is known for a country that has the largest animal migration on earth. And I think that alone can speak for itself. And so some people might not know because you might not have gone, but when you get a chance to go, it's worth seeing. When it comes to resilience, I look at it in terms of resilience connects the entire function of government. And it also connects even community living side by side. When you prepare for resilience, in my opinions, my colleagues might disagree with me, I think that the good preparations for any natural disaster or any climate change disaster is making sure that you prepare every family, every community. Making sure that job opportunity is equal to every family, every citizens, every community. Once that is prioritized by the government, it also prepares the entire country for any natural disaster that can strike. I can give you a good example. When COVID-19 struck, nobody had an idea of what was coming.
Correct.
But when it came, everybody, you're on your own. You're on your own financially. You're on your own in terms of medical preparations. You're on your own on everything. And we always say that government cannot solve everything. Citizens can also contribute, but government leads in all of these sectors. It leads in making sure that adequate funding is given to resilience, is given to health sector, is given to security sector. And those will go and empower low-income communities, low-income individuals, so that those people can get prepared for life 10 or 15 years to come down the line. Once we do that, this is where now we can say that, you know, we have some preparation done. In South Sudan, for example, you asked about poaching. It's one of the problems that we're dealing with. As we speak today, we have zero tolerance on any poachers. We want to make sure that we put all our rangers at our national parks to make sure that poachers don't just get into the park and kill animals. We have the largest migration of animals on Earth because we have a lower population of our people, and we have a vast land where animals can thrive and stay. We're so proud of that, and we think that in years to come, South Sudan will be known for much more. If I can make a continental comparison, you know, a lot of African countries often relied on foreign aid and assistance. And those assistance don't just come from the blue, they come from hardworking people from those countries where they come from. And those people were once empowered by their leaders and governments, which is what we can do now. And I think now the trajectory is changing. Depending on foreign aid, depending on assistance, is lowering, it's actually watering down, which means that it's about the times that we all can be on our own. And for us to be on our own, we must make sure that we prioritize our tourism sector, where we can attract investors to come in and invest in our continent, where we can also attract our own local citizens to be productive, so that in some decade to come, we might just donate to some other countries. We can do that. That's what those countries did those days, which we are enjoying when we get assistance here and there. But I think it's not too late for African countries to come together and work on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Internal resilience, which Madam Minister also alluded in her speech, start by building out and having resilient individuals, and enormously encouraging news about anti-poaching rules, which are completely prohibited or well enforced in South Sudan. Congratulations to you. Minister Augusto, Angola's National Development Plan 2023 to 2027 already highlights economic diversification away from oil. And tourism is named as a key pillar. The question is, in your tourism strategy, have you embedded resilience into that diversification push? and what laws need to change so that resilience is not just a speech, but a legal obligation. And more importantly, how do we ensure that resilience does not go away with, changing political cycles, or when ministers change and headlines move on? In other words, I guess what I'm asking is, how do we ensure resilience first is a default setting and not an emergency setting?
Thank you. Thank you very much for the questions. And it's very interesting, the question you made, because our national development plan and the diversification policy was born for the necessity of diminish the economy rely on oil. So when we decide to go to the diversification program, we understand that the Angola economy should not be more than 90% rely on the oil revenues. So going to the tourism as a way to diversify the economy is also a way to bring resilience to our economy. So the investments and the bring tourism as a way of diversify the economy is a way of bring resilience in our economy. And what we are doing now to bring resilience as an institutional framework is not only by the laws that already existed, and the COVID-19 has proved us that it's very important to have emergency plan and crisis management plan. And we have a legal commandment since 2020 that oblige all the institutional and institutional framework and all public bodies to have in place specific contingency plans. So it's something that is already legal binded. We have legal obligation of having this plan. In terms of tourism, as you may know, Angola is a very it's not a powerhouse in tourism when it comes to tourism in Africa.
Not yet.
Not yet. We are a small country. We are not known as a tourism destination. We are mostly known by the oil country and also by the civil war that was for 30 years in the country. And right now we are trying to be at the center stage of the tourism, just to showcase our potentiality as tourism destination, because we have a lot of national resource, natural resource, cultural heritage, and everything that all the countries in Africa have developed a tourism as destination. So we need to work on the investment on that, and it's very important to bring the right investment and to promote the right strategy on how to build Angola as a tourism destination. Resilience is very important and should be embedded in all the politics. We have a legal, also in the legal terms, we have a law that oblige to create an intersectional tourism development strategy. Right. So all the ministry, all the institutional bodies in Angola are now invited to participate on the intersectional strategy for tourism. So each of these ministries should have in its policies something related with tourism, and also to tackle the contingencies, the disruptions that may come to this sector and may affect the tourism. So with these two legal instruments, we have the grounds for a political approach, and we also have the conditions to stabilize the policies on resilience, because they are legal commandments already. We have legal commandment in place, and it does not allow if we have a political change, it will not change because it's a law that should be
the law remains.
Yes, the law remains. Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating. Thank you, Minister. I think it's a very good learning for other countries to have cross-functional ministerial collaboration with regards to tourism, because tourism connects through multiple ministries. And for those of you who will be at ITB Berlin in March, Angola is going to be the host country this year. Congratulations on that as well. Next, we come to Jackson. Jackson, you are here as the Director General of Rwanda Chamber of Tourism, and that's also a private sector hat. And I'd love to ask you, when crisis hits, tourism businesses need to adapt in days. We don't have weeks or months. Yet rules around permits, taxes, labor, and compliance can often move a little slowly. What, from the private sector seat again, what policy and regulatory frameworks are most critical to ensure tourism resilience is not only government-driven, but it's actually commercially driven and investment-ready across the region?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. And I'm happy to be on this high-level panel of ministers discussing a very important and timely subject on tourism resilience. Coming back to your question about policies and the regulation frameworks that can lead to investment-ready, private sector investment-ready for tourism resilience, I think there are a number of things that policies and the regulation frameworks should be considering if we are to achieve tourism resilience in our country and in our countries and our world. Starting with and the regulatory framework that is driven by consultations with, because there is responsibilities on the side of private sector, there is responsibilities on the side of government, even communities have to be involved. One of the things to focus on is to come up with strategies and frameworks that are really consultative and are clear, with clear vision, that are clear, that are implementable. So at that level, when you have clear policies, clear vision, there is the ownership from different stakeholders, even toward the commitment for the implementation. This is number one key point that I want to highlight. Another thing that should be addressed by policies and regulatory frameworks, it is engaging private sector through public partnership and create business opportunities for the private sector. Of course, here we talk about diversification of tourism experience, we talk about different tourism infrastructures. It shouldn't be a burden on the side of the government. However, those policies should be laying a foundation, even creating a conducive environment for private sector investment. This is also another element to be highlighted, but also policies and frameworks should also be focusing on standards. Standards are very critical when it comes to competitiveness, capacity building, so that we are able to build a stronger and more competitive tourism industry in our respective countries, but also around the world. There's also an aspect of sustainability, which should be addressed in the policies and the regulatory frameworks, because all what we do sometimes has an impact on the environment. But when you bring in an aspect of sustainability and conservation, culture preservation, you ensure that what you are doing is not only commercially viable, but also it will benefit even future generations. You can't just cross a bridge, burn it, destroy it, without or disregarding the future generation, which will benefit from the same resources. It is important that policies and the regulatory frameworks address this issue as well. Another thing is about community involvement. If you do things without community, you don't really make an impact. You don't develop a resilient tourism industry, because it has to have impact on the community livelihoods and way of living. I will just give an example of what Rwanda has been doing for some years. in 2005, the government initiated a policy whereby 5% of tourism revenues collected from national parks were given back to communities around the national parks, not giving money to individual people, but financing community projects.
Right.
Those people who were at some time harmful to the environment and national parks became reliable conservation and tourism partners. So these are kind of initiatives that can be helpful when it comes to engaging the communities.
Fantastic.
Again, we want to have policies and frameworks that are credible and predictable and long term, so that you can be able to entice and create that confidence from a private sector. With this kind of policies, you will be able to achieve not only government-led, but also private sector-led tourism resilience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jackson. P.S. John, if I may ask you, and picking up on what Jackson was saying there, we spend millions, sometimes billions, after disasters, while everything seems to prove that prevention is way cheaper than spending on recovery. What is perhaps Kenya doing something in terms of the policies that you have in the ministry where you have flipped the model? And I would be very curious to hear, especially with regards to SMEs, how do you protect the tourism SMEs when the next shock hits?
Thank you very much for that question and for the contribution that the honorable panelists have given in relation to tourism resilience. You have asked a very important question on what Kenya is doing. I agree with you. Prevention is better than cure, and I think focusing ahead would be much better than trying to solve after problems have occurred. There are a number of practical measures that the government is doing. My cabinet secretary has already highlighted a few, but let me add onto some of the others that we are doing. Number one, we have a national tree growing program, which is spearheaded by His Excellency the President, whose purpose is conservation, to ensure that we conserve our environment, our heritage, and all the important things that, that can be able to create resilience in terms of focusing or preventing drought, famine, and so on, which in itself sometimes affect tourism. The second thing that we are doing has been mentioned by the last speaker who have just spoken, is about community involvement. If you look at the policies that we are driving through the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife, the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, and many other ministries that are relevant to that, we are bringing a partnership between the communities and the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife and the government in general to ensure that there is participation in the conservation and protection of our tourism. The third thing, we have, of course, very specific institutions that deal with prevention. For example, we have the State Department for Special Programs, which outlines and looks at issues to do with provision of water for both human and wildlife, provision of dams, and also looking at other mitigation measures, including even addressing issues relating to safety, peace, and many other factors that affect tourism. Last but not least, we are also very keen in the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife, particularly in partnership with the county governments. We have come up with management plans. If you look at the national parks, the national reserves, we have management plans that very clearly guide on how our national parks and national reserves are managed. But not just that, even how our hotels and other hospitality facilities are regulated in terms of eco-friendly use of technologies, eco-friendly infrastructure, eco-friendly structures. And so therefore I would actually say that in partnership with also the research center at Kenyatta University, there is a lot of research that is being undertaken. We have the Wildlife Research and Training Institute in Naivasha, which also partners with the Tourism Research Institute and other very important research institutes that that there's a lot of research on what resilience means and what prevention means and what kind of policies and measures can be put in place to prevent. So in a nutshell then, I would say that if we collaborate together as humanity, as has been put by the Honorable Minister from Jamaica and all the other Honorable Ministers who have spoken, I think if we speak as one nation, as one voice across the world, we can be able to prevent some of these challenges that affect tourism and put in place practical measures and policies that can focus and can prevent them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Minister Bartlett, if I can pick on that point of PS John and ask you, because recent crises have shown something that the first 30 to 60 days after a shock can be really make or break for any destination. Having said that, during both COVID-19 and the recovery from Hurricane Melissa, Jamaica successfully implemented resilient corridors, which is a bit what PS John was talking about, how standing alone can also be standing together. How can this concept be codified into permanent national policy to ensure a seamless and safe experience for visitors, even during active crisis recovery?
Right, so we have to begin with creating a framework of preparedness. And that requires the pulling together of these numerous moving parts that we have been talking about as ministers that impacts tourism. We begin on the basis that tourism itself doesn't really exist. It happens only because everything else exists. Yeah. And in my context, we say that tourism owns nothing, but we require everything. So our job is to coordinate everything. It's to be that catalyst that brings everything together and enable the creation then of a product. And usually the definition is that tourism is a confluence of moving parts that must come together seamlessly to create an experience that people travel to buy. And they spend a lot on it, I must tell you. So for us then, we begin with establishing a task force on resilience. And that task force is charged with looking at all the critical touch points that are needed to come together to respond to any type of crisis which you have. And so within our ministry, we have the TIOC, which is the Tourism Emergency Operations Center, that looks at disaster risk management and all the elements that are required to be pulled together. Then we look at all the ministries that are critical to bring all of these critical elements together. And we have them represented in that network. Then we look at what are the redundancies that are required from the various sectors to enable quick response. When the hurricane hits and the electricity goes from the normal grid, is there a redundancy? At the airport, do you have redundancies? At the hospitals? And so you go through all these critical areas. Now, once you've been able to do that, then you can define specific areas of greater safety for visitors. But perhaps before I say that, I need to indicate that all your hotels have to comport with these critical touch points that we mentioned. And we have the Tourism Product Development Company, which is an agency within the ministry that has that responsibility to ensure that these hotels and tourism properties are all responding to these touch points. And then we have, in the case of COVID, we were able to define a geographical area. And we were fortunate in that the geography of Jamaica allowed for it. In some countries, it doesn't.
It's not possible, yeah.
We have a single highway that runs east to west that covers the windward side and the leeward side, so to speak. And the hotels are all on the windward side. So we were able to create that corridor, and we ensured that these touch points that I mentioned were all complied with. We put on decals on their windows and doors to indicate that they are fully compliant. And within that space, we were able to have a minimum of infection. When the rest of the communities were in double digit, in that corridor, we had less than 1%. Now, what that built was confidence. So when we spoke to the market and say, you will have a safe, secure, and seamless experience in Jamaica, there was no second guessing of the integrity of that promise.
Right.
So critical to resilience is integrity. And finally, resources, because it has to be funded. We made the point earlier about the need for that.
Yes.
So every country has got to create a disaster management fund at the very basis, a percentage of your budget or whatever. Now multilaterals are talking about it. The IMF is establishing such a fund and so on. But the process of getting it is humongous.
Yeah.
And most of the small economies that are the ones that are highly vulnerable are weakly resourced